p.m. on the East Coast, and it is Wednesday night. We have our special guest waiting for us in the green room. We're recording, we're streaming live, the chat room's waiting. Let's switch to Studio 8 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, good evening. Welcome to pjnet.tv. I'm your host, Coach Prasick. I sit here Monday through Thursday at about this time. What an honor, what a thrill. Amongst the greatest friends in the world, welcome all of you who are in the pjnet.tv chat room. Now, if you're watching this elsewhere, we're glad you joined us, but we are eager to have you come join the fellowship over at pjnet.tv. Now, tonight is a special night. We do this, once a month, and it is let me check my calendar because I botch this all the time. It is the first Wednesday of the month, and we feature Stephanie Pavlantos, who is standing by, but she is not in her usual environment. Gosh, Stephanie, your hair's a different color, your skin is more dark, you're not home, are you?
No. I am in Myrtle Beach.
Well, that would sound like fun, but your mission there is a combination of fun, and it's kind of a bittersweet experience.
Yes. So my sisters and I decided a year ago to take my mom on a trip. She's 86 years old. She'll be 87 in December. We didn't know how long we'd be with her, how long we would have her around. And she does have dementia, so, so we just didn't know. And so we decided to get this trip in because she loves the beach. And so it was a great opportunity. And some couldn't come. I have 5 other sisters. So only 3 of us could make the trip this time, but we're hoping to, who knows what happens. But we're spending time with my mom and taking her to the beach, taking her shopping, sitting in a pool, and talking about family. So it's been good.
Well, it's great to have reunions. Unfortunately, as we walk through this journey here on this earth, we see some of our friends and family less and less, and it seems like there are occasions when the only time we see family members is at a funeral.
Right. Yeah. And I have family from all over. I mean, I have a sister in Texas and Kentucky and Indiana and Ohio. And yeah, we just didn't want to meet again at her funeral. So we wanted to see her while can enjoy being with us. So that was the aim.
Where are you in the pecking order of many sisters?
Oh, wow. I am actually smack dab in the middle. I have, my oldest sister is 9 years older than me. My youngest sister is 9 years younger than me. But I am daughter number 4.
4 of 6.
So, a 4 of 6.
4 of 6.
Could be my new name. 4 of 6.
Oh, it was just brought to my attention that so many people are disgusted with the vice presidential debate that they're watching pjnet.tv. Oh. So all of you that have left the vice presidential debate to be here, we are so grateful that the debate was so terrible that you did that.
Oh, no.
Stephanie, I know you're enjoying the fellowship, but there must be some hard times. It's not like it used to be for a family vacation.
No. When you're dealing with dementia and actually last month I was in Indiana when we did this because we had taken my aunt out of my mom's house because she's getting worse in her dementia. And since then it's been hard for my mom being alone. And it's hard because bringing her here, we were kind of teasing her last night a little bit, but, it took us it's a 10-hour drive to get here from northern or from southern Ohio. And yet, to her, it seemed like we were only in the car for 45 minutes. And because she just lost total track of time. And and even just trying to explain to her, did you remember where we were? Yeah, we're at Cindy's. That's my other sister. And it's like, no, does Cindy have the ocean out the window? But bringing her back to reality, because in her mind she's just other places. And so yeah, and she talks about the past a lot, because that's normal for people with dementia, for the past to be very real and very and more memorable than what they had for breakfast. So we've been talking about our childhoods a lot, and my dad, who died years ago. So we've been talking about a lot of things like that.
Well, us mortals are blessed, I guess, that we don't know the day that we're being called home. But
Right.
Jesus did. And I wonder how that experience was different for him.
Yeah, one of my favorite verses is in Hebrews, and almost the whole book, but in Hebrews 12, it talks that with joy, he went, to that cross. He saw that cross and he faced it with joy, and he despised its shame. And that really spoke to me when I read that verse and studied it, because he looked at joy for that, because he knew what was on the other side. But more than that, he knew the fellowship that was going to bring between us and him, and us and the Father, a relationship that had never happened up until that time. And so, when you think about him looking at something like that with joy, it speaks to me in that we all suffer. If we're going to be Christ-like, we're going to suffer. He promises that. We're going to have trials. We're going to have tribulations. We're going to have all sorts of things happen to us where we're going to feel attacked, or feel like the world is ending, or that we just can't go on another day. And but facing those things, we always have a choice. We have a choice to go and lean into Jesus and face it with joy like he did, or if it's a fork in the road, you go then to bitterness, if that's the other side. And I think everybody has a story that they had when they had that fork in their life, and how they decided to react to that thing that happened. And for me, it was when my father had a stroke when I was 6. And I remember as just a little girl telling my teacher, we don't know if he's going to live. And trying to wrap my mind around what that meant at 6. But
yeah, and at that age, it's hard. We're at a point where we can understand a little, but we can't understand a lot. I had an uncle had a stroke at that age, and the word stroke to me meant something different. And trying to understand what's wrong with my uncle. It's a difficult age to deal with that. But let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Do you actually fear death? Be honest.
No. What I do fear is leaving my family too soon, and their reaction to my death. But I remember my daughter telling me a few years ago, she goes, if you die, that'll just kill me. She goes, I won't know what to do. And I said, you will be fine, And so that kind of thing tears at your heart. It's like you don't want to leave your children. You don't want to leave your spouse, And for me, it's funny that you bring that up, because actually I grew up with a terrible fear of death, and the Lord had to heal me of that, because every day I faced whether my dad was going to be alive when I came home from school. I thought about that. When I was 16, I was a junior in high school, and my mom started working outside the home. That was the first year of my life that she worked outside the home. And so I was the first one home every single day after school. And I had this terrible fear that I was going to walk in and find my dad dead. because even after his stroke, he was paralyzed, but he still had many health issues after that, and more than one heart attack as well. And this one particular day, I came home. He was nowhere to be found, and so I started looking around the house, and calling his name, and I just hear my name real faint. And I run into the bedroom, and I find him on his bed, and he just looked at me and he said, "Call 911." And I remember just like shaking, like, what do I do? What do I do? Okay, I'm just gonna get the phone. And I went outside to call 911. And when they came and picked him up, my mom had driven home already. And when they put him on the gurney and took him, and rolled it through our house to the door, I couldn't watch. And then my dad called me over, because to him, that was his last day. But to me, I was like, no, if I go over and give him a kiss and tell him goodbye, then he's not coming back. So I won't do it. So I didn't. And I stayed in the kitchen and I watched them roll him out. But obviously, he did come back home. He was a lot weaker than he had been. But what I see about my dad is, through every circumstance, I don't know what my dad was like before his stroke, okay? I was too young to know what he was spiritually like. But I remember he was a great dad. And but after that stroke, and from my high school years, what I saw was a man who never got bitter, but who leaned into Jesus, who read his Bible, who prayed, who listened to pastors on the radio, who read the Bible to us every night, who prayed over us every night. I saw a godly man in his brokenness, And the other thing in Hebrews, it says that God was not ashamed of these men. That's in Hebrews 11. And you have all these men who have failed, who never saw the promises of God. But it says that God was not ashamed to be their God. And I thought of my dad, because God was not ashamed of him. And God was watching him grow, watching him mature, watching him pray for his daughters, listening to him pray for his daughters through his whole life. But that fear of death stuck with me, even into my own marriage and into my children. And the Lord just had to show me that it was okay, and that I didn't need to fear, because all of our lives are in his hand. And when my son was born with a disability, immediately it was like I had that choice, like my dad did. Am I going to be bitter, or am I going to lean into Jesus with this? Because what do? I'm a new mom. This is my first child. I had twins, but they were preemies, and it was an awful thing for a new mom, and your babies go immediately from you because they can't breathe, and the rush to be put on oxygen, and watching them, basically almost wired up. Okay, so they had wires everywhere, and that fear was there, that wanted to take over. Am I going to lose my babies? And but the Lord so many times just said, they're going to go home with you. Don't worry. And so I could always lean back on him and say, okay, they're in your hands. And marvelous things happened. My husband had a hard time dealing with his disabilities at first, but again, he told me once, he goes, wonder why? What did we need to learn through Matthew's disabilities? What do we need to learn? And I go, I don't know, but I've been through this already with my father. And he goes, oh, that's true. But it made me think, how God prepared me through what happened with my dad, helping him in his later years, um, helping him walk, down steps because he used a cane, and until he got so bad that he was in a wheelchair, and then, just being there and helping him, and never having a regret that I wasn't there for him when he needed me. And I never wanted to have a regret with our son, with any of our children, but we were there for him, and we did everything we could to get him the proper help and everything. But I learned so much that through that time to lean into Jesus, keep leaning into him, because I could question why. I could get bitter. My son gets made fun of, or he's given a hard time. He doesn't have as many friends. I could keep getting bitter about one thing after another. But it was like, no, my dad, in all of that, he leaned into Jesus, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to lean into Jesus. And, and that's how we've raised our son now. All of these issues, anything that you're dealing with, this is what you do. We've raised all of our children that way, but for the longest time, Matthew is now 24 years old, but until he started working a job, he never thought he had a disability, because we treated him as if he could do anything. So it's been a life lesson, I mean, it's not even over yet, obviously, but it's just, dads are so important, moms are so important. God gave us a family to learn, and what I learned from my father, and how strong I watched my mother become through all of that. She's a very strong woman.
Stephanie,
seeing her like this.
Not only your point is a good one. We can lean into Jesus. He's always there. He's rock solid. He's firmly rooted.
Yes.
He will not fail us. But the good thing is, in addition to that, we can lean into a circle of friends. Let me read you something from the chat room. Does anyone ever wish you could just give the guest a hug? And I know it's difficult, but Stephanie, you are a citadel of spiritual strength and leadership in a situation that is certainly less than ideal. You are handling it gracefully. You are handling it by the book, and we admire your courage and your strength. Folks, we thought we might be visited by her two sisters who are,
Yeah.
but I guess did they chicken out?
They chickened out. They're like, I cannot be on camera. I cannot be on camera. And I go, babies. Because we also love to give each other a hard time, and we tease each other quite a bit. And so we do a lot of laughing, which is always a good thing. And we get our mom laughing, and I think that just has kept her young and kept her healthy over those years. So,
well, I think that dealing with infirmity, dealing with our own mortality, does a couple things. For me, it creates a sense of urgency. I'm in the fourth quarter. I know it. It's time to get moved. So it creates a motivation to move, but it also, at the same time, creates a motivation to just pause. Yes. And just take in the wonder and the joy that God has given us, that we, in our hurry sometimes, or for me all the time, it's hard to do. So you are a living testimony of the best of both. You are enjoying the beach, the fellowship with your family, but you are also acting with a sense of urgency, knowing that that time is not unlimited here on this planet. Right. But Stephanie, you're a champ. Right. I know I didn't know it was going to be hard this hard tonight, but
I didn't either. Sorry, I get all emotional when I talk about my family and my dad, and and I look back on my life, and where did my love for Scripture come but from my father? That was his gift to me.
Well,
among other things.
You're very blessed, Stephanie. Thank you for sharing, and we hope to see you soon. And
Thank
enjoy your
you.
time. You've been a source of strength for all of us with your testimony tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right. Folks, pjnet.tv. We are on the air. We are live, and we are only half through this segment where we will, at the bottom of the hour, be joined by Michelle Medlock Adams. And she's always got something interesting. Can't wait to hear from her. Thank you again to all of you in the chat room. On my way out, I will ask 2 questions for you to pose to yourself. Be honest. Number 1, what is the boldest thing that you have ever done for Jesus Christ? Got it? Number 2, how long ago was that? Folks, in life, we are, in our mortality and in our life here on earth, going to face challenges. We're going to have joys and we're going to have sorrows. We're going to have good times. We're going to have hard times. Without boldness, we'll never make it. So it is my prayer and my hope that you would never be satisfied with your answer to either of those 2 questions.